Welcome back to the broadcast. Our first guest this morning isn't from Dallas. Get this, he's from the East Coast, but he's visiting Dallas as he makes his way across America, raising money and awareness for autism. Please welcome Brian Patrick, who is roller skating.
Rollerblading.
Rollerblading.
I feel like you need to kick one of those bad boys up on the table.
Throw one of those up on the coffee table.
Look at this. Are you kidding me?
How heavy are those?
How far have you come so far?
Coming from Long Island, which is from Montauk Point, the most eastern point of New York, and coming over through the south and out to California, now making my way back to try to set the world's record. I'm probably around just shy of about 5,000 miles thus far.
So, and you're raising money for autism, for awareness of autism,
well,
right?
what's more important to me, and this is what's more important to me, because it's not always about money. It can't be. And it was more about awareness. And so before I left New York, and before I had even decided to do any of this, I was reading and researching a lot that there's a lot of issues down south and how autism is becoming, you know, it's no longer an issue. It's now officially a national epidemic. And it became, what can I do to help? And so for me, it wasn't about the money. It was about awareness. It was about going to families that for the first time have a child that's autistic. And what can I do to help? Now, I'm not a doctor. I don't pretend to be one.
You don't have an autistic child or anything?
I do.
You do? Okay.
I have. I actually have two. And for myself, recently I've been diagnosed with Asperger's on a mild form. And it became, what can I do for these families that are now, you know, they have now found themselves in this world that can become very complicated, become very difficult. So as I came across, the skates initially were used as a prop, and what I would do is I would go into a McDonald's and I would hustle in, and people would be like, "Oh, what are you doing?" I'm skating here from New York, and well, that's crazy. So yeah, it is crazy, but I'm doing it for autism and for Autism Speaks. And that's when that moment would start. Someone would offer me coffee, and then from there, say, you know what, my niece is having very big difficulties with her son. Maybe you can talk.
So you're doing a lot of one-on-one everywhere you go.
And
how do you fund this? How do you support yourself and raise money? How do you do
and stay
that?
this long off work, because this is a long time for you.
Well, this is, when I first left, the realization was, there's no name recognition, so there's no sponsors, there's no endorsements. So before I left, I realized this is going to be hard, and in my life, so often I never finished anything that I started. So when I left this is going to be a life lesson to myself and to my kids. So when I left, most of when I was coming through the South and in through Tennessee, most nights I didn't sleep in a hotel. I ended up going to a McDonald's and tell the manager, explain to them who I am, show them my credentials, and I would sleep in a McDonald's, in a Waffle House. During the day, I would sleep in the park, because in the end, it was no longer about me. It was about this cause. It was about this community that I'm now officially part of, and it's now, what can I do to help? And
so it's a purpose greater than yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. And, you know, in the beginning, when I first left, there was 4 people on this planet that knew what I was doing. By the end of the first week, I had 6 people on our Facebook, and
6?
Yes. Yeah. And what's even funnier right now, actually, technically, Facebook has me on probation. Apparently, I've been trying to friend too many people in.
Aww.
So yeah,
they do that.
Facebook. Come on, Mark Zuckerberg.
What does that mean, you're on probation?
What was happening is people would come into our Facebook and they would like us, and I would try to friend them in. And when they don't respond to that, Facebook sees it as spamming, so they shut me off. So
or
they shut me
do
off.
A bunch of friend
requests.
Facebook.
Yeah. Not very nice.
Let me ask you this. How can people get involved and help you out?
The best way to get involved is if you go to autismspeaks.org. The first thing you obviously do is contribute money. And the one thing, one of the most important things about Autism Speaks is that they're specifically designed to generate tremendous amounts of revenue, and the significance of that is for research and for advocates to go to Washington, D.C. to promote our cause, to help and fight insurance companies. But the other thing too is the most important, most significant thing about autismspeaks.org, which I think most people don't recognize. I wonder if sometimes if autismspeaks.org recognizes this, is that for the first time when a family has that moment, and it's a moment of terror, been there, done that, and you realize, you know, your son or your daughter may potentially be on that spectrum. If you go to autismspeaks.org, they have everything you need to start the motion of taking care of your child, which is everything from doctors and
They have it.
They have it there to where you can start.
Is autism the disease of slipping away? This is what I've heard, where you feel like you're just slipping back, and since you have it, do you feel when it is prominent in you, or how do you feel?
It's not an issue of how you feel. It's first and foremost, it's a neurological issue, and so it's not to be confused with any kind of mental illness.
No,
So,
I know that, but
you know, to answer the question, with me, and I would only specifically talk about, you know, my experience, was it's never been an issue of slipping back. What it is with me and Asperger's, to me, Asperger's is nothing more than this thing that manipulates you. And I didn't realize until I was about 30 years old that I was potentially on the spectrum when I watched my own son, at the time was 5, working with occupational therapists, and I'm watching, and also my eyes watered up, and the woman came out and she says, "You okay?" And I said, I am so far from okay, because that little guy, you know, that's me. And
You
I
recognized it.
looked at my whole life from the time I was in kindergarten, the 3rd grade, the 6th grade, and I realized, you know what? This explains everything. This explains some of these inappropriate behaviors and some of the mistakes I made. Now, it doesn't excuse it, but it certainly explains a lot.
You know
work
what
you're
you've done
doing
though
is
today is
amazing.
help us to get, because you've helped us in a little bit to get a better understanding from someone who actually has it.
That was that's a big deal.
Brian,
we're going to have to go away for right now, but please, you can have more information on autism by going to autismspeaks.org.